Jake Morrison stood at the window of his ship and watched the alien planet grow larger. His hands were sweating. After 300 years of searching, humans had finally found another intelligent species in space. Now Jake had to make sure the first meeting went well. "Captain, we're getting close," said Lisa Chen from the pilot seat. She had flown ships for 10 years. But even her voice sounded nervous. "I know," Jake said. He was only 32 years old. But Earth's government had chosen him to lead this mission. They said he was good at talking to people and staying calm under pressure. Right now, he didn't feel calm at all. The planet was called Vakria Prime. The aliens who lived there called themselves Vakrians. They had sent a message to Earth 6 months ago. The message was simple. "Come and talk. We will decide if you are worthy." That last part worried Jake. Worthy of what? The Vakrians had technology far beyond anything humans had. Their empire stretched across 12 star systems. They had been traveling through space for thousands of years. Humans had only learned to go faster than light 5 years ago. "They're sending us landing coordinates," said Ryan Blake, the science officer. He was younger than Jake, only 26, and this was his first time meeting aliens. His eyes were wide with excitement and fear. The ship descended through purple clouds. When they broke through, Jake saw a city that took his breath away. Towers of crystal and metal reached toward the sky. Bridges of light connected buildings that floated in the air. Ships moved between the towers like schools of fish. "They've been doing this for a long time," Lisa whispered. The Horizon landed on a platform near the largest tower. Jake straightened his uniform and looked at his small team. Besides Lisa and Ryan, there were only 3 others. Earth had kept the first mission small on purpose. If things went wrong, they didn't want to lose many people. "Remember," Jake said, "we're here to show them that humans deserve respect. Be polite. Be honest. And don't show fear, even if you feel it." The door opened. Jake stepped out first. A group of Vakrians waited for them. Jake had seen pictures, but seeing them in person was different. They were tall, taller than any human, with skin that looked like blue crystal. Their eyes glowed with silver light. They wore robes that seemed to be made of liquid metal. One Vakrian stepped forward. He was the biggest, with darker blue skin and eyes that studied Jake like a scientist looking at a bug. "I am Lord Keth," the alien said. His voice came from a device on his chest that translated his words. "I speak for Emperor Theron. You are the humans?" "Yes," Jake said. He kept his voice steady. "I'm Captain Jake Morrison. We come in peace and friendship." Lord Keth made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Peace and friendship. How primitive. You have nothing we need, human. We are here to decide if your species should be allowed to exist freely, or if you need our guidance." Jake felt anger rise in his chest, but he pushed it down. "We've survived for thousands of years without guidance. We've built cities, explored our solar system, and now we've reached the stars. We did it ourselves." "You reached the stars 5 years ago," Lord Keth said. "We reached them before your species learned to make fire. You are children playing with tools you barely understand." Before Jake could answer, another Vakrian stepped forward. This one was different. She was smaller, though still taller than Jake. Her skin was lighter blue, almost silver in the sunlight. Her eyes were gentler than Lord Keth's. She wore simpler robes, but something about the way she moved told Jake she was important. "That is enough, Lord Keth," she said. Her voice was soft but firm. "The Emperor sent me to evaluate the humans, not you." Lord Keth bowed his head slightly, but Jake saw anger in his glowing eyes. The Vakrian stepped back. The female Vakrian turned to Jake. "I am Princess Alara, 3rd daughter of Emperor Theron. I serve as High Ambassador of the Empire. It is my duty to decide if humanity should be recognized as a sovereign species." Jake bowed. He didn't know if that was the right thing to do, but it seemed respectful. "It's an honor to meet you, Princess." For the first time, he saw something that might have been a smile on an alien face. It was small, barely there, but it made her seem less frightening. "Come," Princess Alara said. "You must be tired from your journey. We have prepared rooms for you in the palace. Tomorrow, we will begin talks. Tonight, you rest." She turned and walked toward the tower. Jake and his team followed. As they walked, Jake noticed that Princess Alara kept looking back at them, not with the cold curiosity of Lord Keth, but with something else. Interest, maybe. Or hope. The palace was even more impressive inside. The walls seemed to be alive with moving light. Water flowed upward in fountains that defied gravity. Strange plants with glowing flowers grew from ceiling and floor. Princess Alara led them to a series of rooms. "These are yours," she said. "If you need anything, simply speak. The palace will hear you and respond." "Thank you," Jake said. "I hope we can prove ourselves worthy of your respect." Princess Alara looked at him for a long moment. Up close, Jake could see her eyes were not just silver, but had small stars of light moving in them, like tiny galaxies. "I hope so too, Captain Morrison," she said quietly. "My people have been alone for a very long time. It would be good to find friends among the stars." She left, and Jake stood in the doorway watching her go. Something had just happened, though he wasn't sure what. He felt like he had seen past her formal mask for just a moment. Behind it was someone who was lonely, just like he was. Lisa came up beside him. "Did that just happen? Did an alien princess just say she hopes we can be friends?" Maybe," Jake said. "Or maybe I imagined it." But he didn't think he had imagined it. And as he lay in bed that night, unable to sleep in the strange alien room, he kept thinking about those eyes full of stars. The first week of talks did not go well. Every day, Jake and his team sat in a grand hall with Princess Alara and her advisors. Every day, Lord Keth found new ways to insult humanity. "Your medicine is primitive," he said on the third day. "Your ships are slow. Your weapons are toys. Why should we treat you as equals?" Jake tried to stay patient. "Because we never give up. Humans have faced extinction a dozen times on our own planet. Disease, war, climate change, asteroid impacts. Each time, we survived. We adapt. We overcome." Lord Keth waved his hand. "Survival is what animals do. We are speaking of civilization." But Princess Alara leaned forward. "Tell me more about this adaptation, Captain Morrison. How does your species survive when you have so little compared to others?" Jake saw genuine interest in her eyes. "We work together. We share knowledge. When one human discovers something, all humans benefit. We don't hide our learning behind walls of tradition." He saw Lord Keth stiffen at that comment. "Good," Jake thought. "Let him be offended." Princess Alara smiled slightly. "Interesting. Among my people, knowledge is often kept by certain families. It is seen as a source of power. Among my people," Jake said carefully, "knowledge is power only when it's shared. A cure for disease means nothing if only one person knows it." Over the following days, the talks continued. Jake noticed that Princess Alara asked more questions than the others. She wanted to know about human art, human music, human families. She seemed fascinated by human emotions and how openly humans showed them. "Vakrians are taught from childhood to control their feelings," she explained one evening. They were walking in the palace gardens, just the two of them. Lord Keth had protested. But Princess Alara had insisted it was her right to speak with the humans privately. "Why?" Jake asked. "Feelings make us who we are." "Feelings can cloud judgment," Princess Alara said. But she didn't sound convinced of her own words. On the 8th day, everything changed. A message came during breakfast. Princess Alara's face went pale as she listened to her communication device. She stood up quickly. "There is an emergency on Valtor 4, she said. "A plague has broken out among the miners. Both human and Vakrian workers are infected. It is spreading fast, and our doctors cannot stop it." Jake stood too. "How many humans are there?" 200 of your people. 300 of mine." Princess Alara looked troubled. The planet is quarantined. No ships can land or leave. The sick will die there. No, Jake said firmly. Let us help. Lord Keth, who had been silent until now, laughed. You? What can primitive humans do that Vacrian medicine cannot? We can try something different, Jake said. Your medicine is advanced, but maybe it's too advanced. Sometimes simple solutions work when complex ones fail. Princess Alara studied him. You would risk your lives? You barely know these human miners. They are not even from your ship. They're human, Jake said simply. That's enough. Something changed in Princess Alara's eyes. She turned to Lord Keth. I am authorizing the human ship to go to Valtor 4. Captain Morrison and his team will work with our medical staff. Lord Keth started to protest, but Princess Alara cut him off with a sharp gesture. I have the authority. It is done. 6 hours later, the horizon approached Valtor 4. Princess Alara had come with them, along with a Vacrian medical team. Lord Keth had stayed behind, claiming he had other duties. The mining colony was in chaos. Sick people filled every building. The plague caused terrible fever and made breathing difficult. People were dying despite all the Vacrian medicine could do. Dr. Sophie Martinez, the Horizon's medical officer, studied the plague samples. She worked side by side with the Vacrian doctors, comparing notes. Your medicine tries to kill the infection directly, Sophie said. But this plague adapts too fast. Every time you attack it, it changes. Then what do you suggest? Asked a Vacrian doctor. Sophie thought for a moment. What if we don't attack it? What if we strengthen the body's own defenses instead? Human medicine has a long history of working with the body. Not just against the disease. The Vacrian doctors looked doubtful, but they were desperate. They agreed to try Sophie's approach. While Sophie worked on the cure, Jake did something that shocked the Vacrians. He went into the quarantine zones without full protection. The suits that completely protected against the plague were in short supply. Jake took only a basic mask. You will get sick, Princess Alara said. She had followed him to the entrance of the quarantine building. Maybe, Jake said. But these people need supplies. They need water and food. Someone has to bring it to them. Send robots. Send drones. They need to see a face. They need to know. Someone cares. Jake pulled on his mask. That's what humans do. We show up for each other. Princess Alara watched him go inside. Her hand reached out as if to stop him, but she pulled it back. For 3 days, Jake went in and out of the quarantine zones. He brought food, water, and medicine. He held the hands of dying miners, both human and Vacrian. He told them they would survive, even when he wasn't sure himself. Lisa and Ryan helped too. They fixed broken equipment, distributed supplies, and did whatever was needed. The Vacrian medical staff watched in amazement as these humans risked their lives again and again for people they had never met. On the 4th day, Sophie ran out of her lab, shouting, "It works! The treatment works!" She had combined human immune-boosting techniques with Vacrian cellular technology. The cure didn't kill the plague directly. Instead, it made the body strong enough to fight the plague on its own. The plague couldn't adapt fast enough to overcome a fully strengthened immune system. Within hours, the dying started to recover. Within a day, the plague was under control. Within a week, Valtor 4 was declared safe. Jake stood on the landing platform, preparing to return to Vacria Prime. He was exhausted, and he had caught a mild version of the plague himself. But Sophie's cure had worked on him too. Princess Alara approached him. They were alone. Everyone else was busy with the cleanup. You almost died, she said quietly. But I didn't, Jake replied. Why did you do it? You could have stayed safe on your ship. You could have let others take the risk. Jake looked at her. In the dim light of Valtor 4's red sun, her silver eyes seemed even more beautiful. Because that's not who we are. Humans don't ask others to face dangers we won't face ourselves. We lead from the front. Princess Alara was quiet for a long moment. Then she did something Jake had never seen a Vacrian do. She reached out and touched his hand. Her skin was cool and smooth, like polished stone, but somehow soft too. "I was wrong about your species," she said. "You are not primitive. You are not children. You have something my people lost long ago." "What's that?" "Heart," she whispered. "You have heart." She pulled her hand back quickly, as if realizing she had done something wrong. She turned away. "We should return to Vakria Prime. My father will want to hear about this." As they flew back, Jake looked out the window and touched the hand she had held. He could still feel the coolness of her skin. And he realized something that terrified him. He was starting to have feelings for an alien princess. Feelings that could never lead anywhere. Feelings that were dangerous and impossible. But feelings he couldn't stop, no matter how hard he tried. After the success at Valtor 4, everything changed. Emperor Theron himself called Jake to the throne room. The Emperor was massive, even for a Vakrian, with deep blue skin that was almost black, but his eyes were kind when he looked at Jake. "You saved my people," the Emperor said. "You risked your life when you did not have to. This is not the action of a primitive species." "Thank you, Your Majesty," Jake said. He could feel Princess Ayelara watching from her place beside the throne. "I am prepared to recognize humanity as a sovereign species," Emperor Theron continued. "The treaty will be signed in 1 week." Jake felt relief wash over him. The mission was a success. Earth would have a powerful ally among the stars. But Lord Keth stepped forward. "Your Majesty, I must speak." The Emperor nodded. "Speak, Lord Keth." "I believe we are moving too fast," Lord Keth said. His voice was smooth, but Jake heard the anger underneath. One act of bravery does not prove an entire species worthy. We know so little about humans. What if they are dangerous? What if they threaten our empire? "The captain saved Vakrian lives," Princess Ayelara said. "What more proof do you need?" Lord Keth turned to her. His face was calm, but his glowing eyes were cold. "With respect, Princess, you have grown close to the humans. Perhaps too close. Can you judge them fairly?" Princess Alara's skin darkened slightly. Jake had learned this meant she was angry, but she kept her voice level. "I can judge them fairly. Can you, Lord Keth?" "You opposed their presence from the beginning." The Emperor raised his hand for silence. "Enough, Lord Keth. You may voice your concerns, but the decision is made. In 1 week, we sign the treaty." Lord Keth bowed low. "As you command, Your Majesty." But as he left the throne room, Lord Keth looked back at Jake. The look promised trouble. That night, Jake couldn't sleep. He walked through the palace gardens. The alien plants glowed softly in the darkness, and 2 moons hung in the purple sky. He heard footsteps and turned. Princess Ayelara walked toward him. She wore simpler clothes now, not her formal robes. She looked almost human in the moonlight, except for her glowing eyes and crystalline skin. "You should be sleeping," she said. "Tomorrow we have more meetings." "I'm too excited to sleep," Jake admitted. "In 1 week, everything changes. Humans will have a place among the stars." Princess Ayelara sat on a bench made of living crystal. After a moment, Jake sat beside her. They were close enough that he could feel the cool temperature of her skin. "Do you ever feel trapped?" she asked suddenly. "What do you mean? Trapped by who you are? By what others expect?" Princess Ayelara looked up at the moons. "I am a princess. I have duties. I have a role to play. But sometimes I wonder what it would be like to just be Ayelara, not Princess Ayelara, just me." Jake understood. "I feel that way sometimes too. People see Captain Morrison, the diplomat, the hero from Valtor 4. But I'm just Jake, a guy from Earth who likes old movies and terrible coffee." She laughed. It was the first time Jake had heard her really laugh. The sound was like wind chimes. "What are old movies?" Jake spent the next hour trying to explain human cinema to an alien princess. She listened with fascination, asking questions about stories and emotions and why humans needed to pretend to be other people. "It helps us understand each other," Jake explained. When we see a story about someone different from us, we learn to feel what they feel. My people could benefit from that, Princess Aelara said softly. We have forgotten how to feel. They talked until the moon set and the sun began to rise. Finally, Princess Aelara stood. I should go. If anyone saw us talking like this, alone, there would be rumors. What kind of rumors? Jake asked. She looked at him with those star-filled eyes. For a moment, Jake thought she would say something important. But then she just shook her head. Good night, Captain Morrison. Good night, Princess Aelara. 3 days before the treaty signing, disaster struck. Jake was woken by alarms. Lisa ran into his room without knocking. Captain, we have a problem. A big one. A Vakrian military outpost had been attacked. 3 ships destroyed, 200 soldiers dead, and the attacking ships had human energy signatures. That's impossible, Jake said. We only have 1 ship here. The Horizon. And it hasn't left the palace. But the evidence was clear. Vakrian sensors had detected human weapons, human ship designs, human communication frequencies. Emperor Theron had no choice. He ordered Jake and his crew arrested. The guards who came for them were polite but firm. They took Jake to a cell in the palace. It was comfortable, with a bed and a window, but it was still a cell. He was a prisoner. Hours later, Princess Aelara came to see him. She stood outside the energy barrier that kept him locked in. I know you didn't do this, she said immediately. Thank you, Jake said. But your father doesn't believe that. My father is under pressure from the military council. Lord Keth is demanding war with Earth. He says humans are violent and treacherous. Princess Alara's skin had darkened with anger again. But I know this is wrong. The evidence is too perfect, too convenient. Jake moved closer to the barrier. You think someone framed us? Yes, and I intend to prove it. Princess Aelara looked around to make sure no one was listening. Can you contact your ship secretly? Jake thought for a moment. Maybe. Lisa is smart. If she's not being watched too closely, she could use the Horizon systems to scan for other ships in the area. Do it, Princess Aelara said. I will investigate from my end. But Captain, we must work quickly. Lord Keth is pushing my father toward war. If we don't find proof soon, both our peoples will suffer. She left, and Jake immediately started working on a way to contact Lisa. It took him hours, but he finally managed to send a coded message through the palace's computer system. Lisa responded within minutes. She and Ryan and the others were locked in the Horizon, but the ship was still functional. They started scanning. For 2 days, Jake and Princess Aelara worked separately to uncover the truth. Princess Aelara searched through military records, looking for inconsistencies. Lisa and Ryan analyzed every ship in the system, looking for vessels that could have been disguised to appear human. On the second night, they found it. Ryan discovered a Vakrian ship with modified engines that could mimic human signatures. Lisa tracked its path and found it had been near the outpost during the attack. But the ship belonged to Lord Keth's personal fleet. It's not enough, Princess Aelara said when Jake showed her the evidence through his secret channel. Lord Keth will say the data was faked. We need more. Then we get more, Jake said. Can you access the ship's logs? Not without authorization from the military council, and Lord Keth controls half the council. Jake thought hard. What if someone broke into the ship's computer? What if someone desperate and imprisoned somehow managed to hack into secure Vakrian systems? Princess Aelara understood. That would be illegal. If you were caught, you would be executed. Better than watching our peoples go to war, Jake said. That night, Jake did something no human had ever done. He hacked into Vakrian military systems. It was terrifying and difficult. But Ryan had taught him a few tricks. And Jake was motivated. He found the ship's logs, and in those logs, he found orders. Orders from Lord Keth to attack the outpost and make it look like humans did it. Orders to start a war, but Lord Keth wasn't working alone. He had allies, other nobles who feared human influence. And they were planning to do more than just start a war. They were planning to overthrow Emperor Theron. Jake sent everything to Princess Alara. She took the evidence to her father immediately. The next morning, Emperor Theron called an emergency council meeting. Princess Alara presented the evidence. Lord Keth denied everything at first. He called the data fake. He accused Princess Alara of being corrupted by her feelings for the human captain. But then the Emperor played recordings from the ship's logs, Lord Keth's own voice, giving orders to attack, planning the coup. Lord Keth's face changed. The smooth politeness dropped away, replaced by rage. "You are all fools," he shouted. "Humans will destroy us. They breed too fast. They adapt too quickly. In 100 years, they will outnumber us. In 200, they will take our worlds. I am trying to save our empire." "By murdering your own people?" Princess Alara said coldly. "By betraying your emperor?" Lord Keth pulled out a weapon. In seconds, the throne room erupted in violence. Lord Keth's allies, hidden among the council, revealed themselves. They attacked the Emperor's guards. Jake heard the alarms from his cell. The energy barrier suddenly dropped. Princess Alara stood there, out of breath. "Come with me." Now, they ran through the palace. Jake could hear fighting everywhere. "Where are we going?" "The throne room. My father is in danger." They arrived to find chaos. Lord Keth and his followers had the Emperor cornered. The loyal guards were outnumbered. Jake didn't think. He just acted. He grabbed a fallen guard's weapon and charged into the fight. He didn't know how to use Vakrian weapons very well, but he knew how to be brave. Princess Alara fought beside him. Together, they pushed through to the Emperor. Jake took down 3 of Lord Keth's soldiers. Princess Alara disabled 2 more. Finally, it was just Lord Keth, cornered and desperate. He aimed his weapon at Princess Alara. Jake dove in front of her. The blast hit him in the shoulder. Pain exploded through his body. But he stayed standing long enough for the Emperor's guards to take Lord Keth down. Jake fell. The last thing he saw before darkness took him was Princess Alara's face, her eyes wide with fear, calling his name. Jake woke up in a medical bay. His shoulder hurt, but not as much as he expected. When he tried to sit up, gentle hands pushed him back down. "Don't move yet," Princess Alara said. She was sitting beside his bed. Her eyes looked tired. "You were unconscious for 2 days. Did we win?" Jake asked. His voice was rough. "Yes. Lord Keth and his followers are in prison. My father is safe." Princess Alara touched his good shoulder carefully. "You saved my life, Captain Morrison. You took a weapon blast meant for me." "Just Jake," he said. "You can call me just Jake." She smiled. It was a real smile, warm and genuine. "Then call me just Alara." "Deal," Jake said. Then he noticed her expression change. "What's wrong?" "The doctors say you will recover fully," Alara said. "But the weapon that hit you, it was designed to kill Vakrians. For a human, it could have been much worse. You should not have survived." But I did." "Yes, you did." Alara looked down at her hands. "Why did you do it? Why did you step in front of me?" Jake didn't have to think about the answer. "Because losing you would have been worse than dying." Alara's eyes widened. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then she stood up quickly. "You should rest. I will come back later." She left before Jake could say anything else. The next day, Emperor Theron himself came to visit. The massive alien emperor looked at Jake with something like respect. "Captain Morrison, you have proven yourself a true friend to the Vakrian people. You exposed a traitor. You saved my daughter. You risked your life for people who are not even your species." The emperor sat down carefully on a chair that seemed too small for him. "I am prepared to offer humanity not just recognition, but a full alliance. Our peoples will be partners among the stars." "Thank you, Your Majesty," Jake said. "That means everything to my people. However," the emperor continued, There is a complication. Jake's heart sank. What complication? Jake's, my daughter, Princess Alara. The Emperor's glowing eyes studied Jake carefully. You have feelings for her. Jake didn't see any point in lying. Yes, Your Majesty, I do, and she has feelings for you. I am not blind. The Emperor sighed. A sound like wind through caves. This is difficult. Vacrian law forbids members of the royal family from marrying outside our species. It is a law older than our empire. I understand, Jake said, though his heart felt heavy. I am not certain you do. The Emperor leaned forward. If Alara chooses to pursue a relationship with you, she must give up her title. She will be exiled from the royal family. She will lose everything she has ever known. Then I won't pursue it, Jake said immediately. I won't let her lose everything for me. The Emperor looked surprised. You would walk away? If it means she keeps her family, her home, her life? Yes. I care about her too much to destroy those things. Jake met the Emperor's eyes. I'll go back to Earth. I'll never see her again if that's what's best for her. Emperor Theron was quiet for a long time. Finally, he spoke. You remind me of someone I once knew. Someone I loved. Long ago. Before I became Emperor. I gave up that love for duty. I have regretted it every day since. He stood up. You are a good man, Jake Morrison. My daughter chose well. The Emperor left, and Jake was alone with his thoughts and his pain. A week later, Jake was well enough to walk. The treaty had been signed. Humanity was now officially a partner of the Vacrian Empire. Jake should have been celebrating. Instead, he felt hollow. He had barely seen Alara since he woke up. She sent messages saying she was busy with royal duties. Jake understood. She was avoiding him because it hurt too much to be together when they couldn't have a future. Jake decided he would leave the next day. Return to Earth. Try to forget an alien princess with star-filled eyes. On his last night, he walked through the palace gardens one final time. The glowing plants seemed dimmer than he remembered. The moons looked cold instead of beautiful. Everything felt wrong because she wasn't there. He stood on the same bench where they had talked weeks ago, where she had asked him about feeling trapped, where he had realized he was falling in love with someone he could never have. I wish I could marry her, Jake whispered to himself. He didn't mean to say it out loud. It just came out. A confession to the empty night. Yes, a voice said behind him. Jake spun around. Princess Alara stood there. No, not Princess Alara. Just Alara. She wore simple clothes. No royal robes. Her hair was loose around her shoulders. She looked terrified and brave at the same time. What did you say? Jake asked, his heart pounding. Yes, Alara repeated. She walked closer. You said you wish you could marry me. I said yes. Alara, you heard what your father said. The law. Your title. You would lose everything. I would gain everything, she said softly. She was standing right in front of him now. I have spent my entire life doing what was expected. Being the perfect princess. Following every rule. And I have been miserable. Then you came, with your terrible jokes and your bravery and your heart, and for the first time, I felt alive. But your family, my father came to see me yesterday. Alara interrupted. He told me about your conversation. About how you were willing to walk away to protect me. Do you know what he said after he told me that? Jake shook his head. He said, a man who would sacrifice his own happiness for yours is a man worth keeping. Then, he told me about the woman he loved before he became emperor. How he gave her up for duty. How he has been lonely every day since. Alara took Jake's hands in hers. Her skin was cool and smooth. I don't want to be lonely, Jake. I don't want to spend my life wondering what could have been. What are you saying? I'm saying yes. To you, to us, to whatever comes next. Alara's voice shook slightly. I know it won't be easy. I know people will oppose us, but I also know that I love you. And I want to fight for that love. Jake felt tears in his eyes. He didn't care that crying was supposed to be weak. I love you too. I have since Valtor 4. Maybe even before. But Alara, I can't let you give up everything. You're not making me do anything. This is my choice. Alara smiled. Besides, my father made me a proposal. He said if we can prove that our love is strong enough to bridge our two species, if we can show that humans and Vakrians can build a life together, he will consider changing the law. How do we prove that? I have an idea, Alara said. But it will require sacrifice from both of us. Time, work, faith that we can build something new. I'm listening, Jake said. They talked through the night. Alara explained her plan. They would create a colony. A place where humans and Vakrians could live together. Where both species could learn from each other. It would be hard work. It would take years. And there was no guarantee it would succeed. But if it does, Alara said as the sun rose, we change everything. Not just for us, but for both our peoples. Jake looked at this brave, beautiful woman who was willing to risk everything for a chance at happiness. When do we start? Alara kissed him. It was their first kiss. And it was awkward because they were different species, with different mouths and different ways of showing affection. But it was also perfect because it was them figuring it out together. When they finally pulled apart, Alara laughed. We have a lot to learn about each other. We have time, Jake said. All the time in the world. Or worlds. Whatever. They walked back to the palace hand in hand, ready to face whatever came next. Together, behind them, standing in the shadows of the garden, Emperor Theron watched them go. He smiled, something he rarely did anymore. Then he turned and went to prepare the announcement that would change both their civilizations forever. His daughter had chosen love over duty, and he would make sure she didn't have to regret it. The announcement shook both civilizations. A Vakrian princess and a human captain were in love. They were going to build a colony together. A place where both species could live as equals. The reactions were exactly what Jake and Alara expected. Some people were excited. Many were angry. Most were afraid. On Earth, the government was worried. This could complicate the alliance. The Earth Council told Jake over a video call. Are you sure about this? I've never been more sure of anything, Jake replied. Admiral Kate Foster, who had been Jake's mentor for years, called him privately. You're giving up your career for this, you know. The military won't take you back if it fails. I know, Jake said. But if it works, Admiral, we change everything. Not just for me and Alara, but for every human and Vakrian who wants to build a bridge between our peoples. Kate was quiet for a moment, then she laughed. You always were stubborn. Fine. I'll send you some good people. Scientists, engineers, families who aren't afraid of living with aliens. Thank you, Jake said. On Vakria Prime, the reactions were harsher. Alara's older sister, Crown Princess Solara, confronted her in the palace. You are throwing away centuries of tradition for one man. Do you understand what you are doing to our family? I am showing our family that love is stronger than tradition, Alara replied calmly. You are being selfish, Solara said. Her skin had darkened with anger. What about your duties? Your responsibilities? What about my happiness? Alara shot back. I have served the Empire my entire life. Is it selfish to want one thing for myself? Solara left without answering, but 3 days later, she came back. I still think you are making a mistake, she said. But you are my sister. I will support you, even if I don't understand. It was the best Alara could hope for. Finding a planet for the colony took 2 months. They needed a world that was comfortable for both humans and Vakrians. Finally, they found it. A planet on the border between human and Vakrian space. It had blue skies like Earth and purple vegetation like Vakria. They named it Haven. Building the colony took a year. Jake and Alara worked 20-hour days. They were no longer captain and princess. They were just two people trying to build something impossible. Ryan Blake came, bringing human engineers and scientists. A Vacrian named Thena, who had worked with Ryan before, brought her own team. Together, they designed buildings that worked for both species, schools where human and Vacrian children could learn together, hospitals with doctors trained in both types of medicine. The hardest part was finding people willing to come. Many humans were afraid of living with Vacrians. Many Vacrians thought they were too good to live with humans. But slowly, people came. A human farmer named Greg Baker and his wife Susan wanted their children to grow up knowing aliens as friends, not strangers. A young Vacrian couple named Torin and Lysa came because they believed in Aelara's dream. More followed. Scientists who wanted to share knowledge. Artists who wanted to blend their cultures. Families who were brave enough to try something new. The first year was hard. Humans and Vacrians ate different foods. They slept at different times. They had different ideas about privacy and noise and personal space. There were arguments. There were misunderstandings. There were days when Jake wondered if they had made a terrible mistake. But slowly, things got better. Human children taught Vacrian children Earth games. Vacrian children taught human children their meditation techniques. A human chef named Carlos Rodriguez and a Vacrian cook named Varys created fusion cuisine that both species loved. Ryan Blake and Thena developed new technologies that neither species could have created alone, and people started to fall in love. Not just Jake and Aelara, but others too. A human teacher named Rachel Carter married a Vacrian architect named Cross. A Vacrian doctor named Oren started a relationship with a human engineer named Beth Williams. It wasn't easy for these couples either. They faced criticism from both sides, but they had Jake and Alara's example to follow. 2 years after Haven was founded, something amazing happened. Rachel and Cross had a baby. The first human Vacrian child. The doctors had thought it was impossible, but human and Vacrian genetics were more compatible than anyone had believed. The baby, a little girl named Luna, had her mother's brown eyes and her father's faint blue skin. She was beautiful and healthy and represented hope for both species. Jake and Alara visited Rachel and Cross in the hospital. Alara held little Luna carefully, and Jake saw tears in her eyes. "What are you thinking?" he asked. "I'm thinking about the future," Alara said softly. "About how maybe someday we'll have one of our own." Jake had been thinking the same thing. They had been so busy building Haven that they hadn't talked much about their own future. But now, seeing Luna, he wanted it more than anything. "Maybe sooner than someday," Jake said, and Alara smiled. Emperor Theron came to visit Haven on its 2nd anniversary. He walked through the streets where human and Vacrian children played together. He ate at restaurants, serving fusion food. He visited the research centers where humans and Vacrians worked side by side on projects that benefited both species. At the end of his visit, he called Jake and Alara to his temporary quarters. "I have seen enough," the Emperor said. "Haven is a success. Crime is lower here than in most human or Vacrian cities. Happiness is higher. Your people work together, live together, and love together. You have proven that our species can not only coexist, but thrive together." "Does this mean?" Alara started to ask, but her father held up his hand. "I am returning to Vacria Prime tomorrow. I will call a special session of the Imperial Council. I will propose a change to our laws. Members of the royal family will be allowed to marry based on merit and love, not just bloodline." Emperor Theron looked at his daughter. "I cannot guarantee the council will approve. Many still oppose this. But I will fight for it." Alara hugged her father, something Jake had never seen her do before. "Thank you, father." The vote took 3 weeks. It was close, but in the end, the law changed. Not just for royal marriages, but for all Vacrians. They could now marry whoever they loved, regardless of species. Earth's government followed suit, making cross-species marriages legal throughout human space. The wedding was held on Haven 6 months later. It was the biggest event either species had ever seen. Representatives from dozens of human worlds came. Vacrian nobles who had once opposed Alara now attended to show support. The ceremony blended human and Vacrian traditions in a way that honored both. Jake wore a suit that was a mix of Earth formal wear and Vacrian royal robes. Alara wore a dress that combined human white with Vacrian crystal ornaments. Admiral Kate Foster walked Jake down the aisle. Emperor Theron walked Alara. They exchanged vows in both languages. When asked if he would love Alara forever, Jake said, "I will. From the moment I saw her, I knew my life had changed. She is my partner, my love, my home." When asked if she would love Jake forever, Alara said, "I will. He taught me that love is stronger than duty, that happiness is not selfish, and that the bravest thing we can do is choose each other." Ryan Blake, now Jake's best friend, wiped tears from his eyes. Thena, standing beside him, held his hand. They would be married next month. The celebration lasted 3 days. Humans and Vacrians danced to music that blended both styles. They ate food that mixed both cuisines. They told stories in both languages. And for the first time, it didn't feel like two separate peoples. It felt like one community. 5 years later, Jake stood on the same spot where he and Alara had been married. But this time, he was watching 2 children play. Twins, a boy and a girl, with Jake's dark hair and Alara's glowing eyes. Their skin was a beautiful mix, slightly blue with a warm human undertone. The boy, named Marcus after Jake's grandfather, was trying to teach his sister a human game. The girl, named Lyra, after Alara's grandmother, was trying to teach her brother Vacrian meditation. They were arguing, but in the way siblings do, with love underneath the frustration. Alara came up beside Jake and took his hand. "They're going to rule the galaxy someday, you know. Let's hope they do a better job than we did," Jake said with a smile. "We did fine," Alara said. She looked out at Haven, which had grown from a small colony to a thriving city. Humans and Vacrians walked together on the streets. Mixed families shopped at markets. Children of both species attended the same schools. "We proved that love can bridge any divide." 1. Jake pulled her close. "We proved that humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our weapons. It's our ability to see past differences, to find common ground, to choose connection over fear. That's not just humanity's strength," Alara said. "That's what makes all of us better. Vacrians have learned to feel again because of you. Humans have learned patience and wisdom from us. Together, we are stronger than either species alone." Marcus ran up to them, excited. "Dad, Mom, Miss Thena says we're going on a field trip tomorrow. To Earth, and to Vacria Prime the day after," Lyra added, just as excited. Jake and Alara looked at each other and smiled. Their children would grow up knowing both worlds. They would be the bridge between 2 civilizations. And they would teach others that love, in the end, was always worth fighting for. As the purple sun set over Haven, Jake thought back to that first day when he had landed on Vacria Prime, nervous and afraid. He had come seeking acceptance for his species. Instead, he had found love, and that love had changed everything. Alara leaned her head on his shoulder. "What are you thinking about?" About how I whispered a wish in a garden 5 years ago," Jake said. "And how you answered." "Yes. Best answer I ever gave," Alara said. Marcus and Lyra ran back to play with their friends, both human and Vacrian. Jake and Alara watched them, knowing that the future was bright. Not because it was easy, but because people from 2 worlds had chosen to build it together. And it all started with one whispered wish and one brave answer. Yes.